Hey, what's up everyone? So I'm going to do kind of like an unboxing or an unbagging review for the Promix Ultimate and the Dr. Earth potting soil. I am going to use them to start seedlings or start seeds, germinate. Not typical. I know a lot of people use like either a seed starter mix like Hoffman's or even Promix straight. But I wanted to try something a little bit different this year. I am germinating some seeds for the pretty much the purpose just to hone in my skills and practice a bit, and then for overwintering, I'm gonna pick like the top 5 or whatever and throw them in my tent over the winter. So when I start seeds, and then next summer, whenever I plant out again, I'll have a couple plants that are kind of like way ahead of everything else. It is June 1st, so typically in North Carolina you do not start seeds in June. You start like January. With that being said, I'm going to I went to the store and I was like, didn't find anything locally. I wanted to try something a little bit less expensive than I usually go with a full bag of Promix, it's like 20 bucks, and more accessible, something that I could kind of replicate at different locations as well. More accessible wasn't really the case in this scenario because I didn't have anything locally, so I had to drive about 40 minutes each way in order to go to one of the nurseries that had a little bit more of a variety instead of just Miracle Grow. So, and inexpensive was, I'd say, decently attained. This is 5 bucks and this was 8. So, decent amount of soil for each. This is 8 quarts, so this is 16 or 12 quarts. So, I guess they're about the same price per quart. So I'm going to open them up, kind of feel, see what they, how they break out, what they're made of, and then we'll talk a little bit more about them as I'm doing that. So the Promix, first of all, you'll notice this is not organic. At least it's not plastered all over. They have an Ultimate Potting Mix organic mix. They did not have that where I went, and I would have gotten it if they had it, but since they didn't, I just got this. I'll try it. I'll just be more. I'll be more cognizant of what I'm feeding the seedlings with, the seeds with. Right off the bat, it looks very light. It feels light. It's got, you can see the perlite mixed in. The sticks or any sort of big debris this is the biggest piece I've found so far, and I've kind of mixed it around pretty decently. It's very light. It does not, I mean, it compacts enough but then falls apart. Once I drop it, it falls back into tiny little pieces. Very light, easily bendable stick, so I mean I would just toss that out whenever I was going for seedlings, just because you want the cleanest mixture you can get based off of, to allow the roots to kind of develop off the initial stages. Doesn't really have any kind of odor or smell, so it's good it doesn't stink, which is always a benefit. Oh, I've got a little bit thicker stuff in here somewhere, not too bad. This does have their water-saving gel, which it's like a moisture control agent. It kind of retains moisture, so you don't have to water as often. Which is a good thing because Promix typically is, when I get the big bag, I have to mix in some perlite, and it's tough because there needs to be like a strike of balance between, because like once you have the perlite will help to drain, and then you have some like vermiculite which will retain water. This looks like it's got a pretty decent mixture of each. There's also food in here up to 9 months. Now it's not going to be, my plants aren't going to be in here for 9 months, but it's just something I want to be cognizant of whenever I transplant to a clean soil with no food in it, and then I'm going to add in my own nutrients. So I'll use this for the initial stage, and then once I pot up, I'll go more organic. I'm just using like a cup of this, so it's really not going to screw up too much. I can kind of flip the soil pretty decently. Also, it's got the Myco Active, which is a mycorrhizae. Basically, it helps root development, which is kind of strange because it doesn't say organic anywhere on here. But the Myco is like helps to feed the soil food web and develop like an active food ecosystem within your soil, which is awesome, and that's kind of like the goal, which you want. Like the microorganisms are feeding off of each other in order to allow better root development, better water uptake, nutrient retention, and things like that. So looks pretty good, promising. I'm gonna go ahead and I have my experiments later on I'll get into, but I'll go into right now the Dr. Earth. A little bit more earthy odor. This feels a little bit heavier, a little bit more. There's definitely more pieces of stuff in here, like mulch. I might have to. It doesn't feel as light. Like this, the Promix almost feels like, for lack of a better term, like sandy clouds. So if you can imagine sandy clouds, it's about the density or size of sand in most cases, and the lightness you would think of for clouds. This is a little bit more topsoilish, bigger pieces of stuff in here. Doesn't really compact as well, like it falls right apart. Whereas the Promix, you can, it kind of retains, and then once you drop it, it'll break apart. But this is organic, and it's got like some special ninja stuff that I read about last night, but don't remember. But it has to do the same thing as food web, myco additives. There's something like some aloe stuff in here that's supposed to benefit soil or root development in the micro ecosystem within the soil. It's got the myco additives. It's I guess this is ideal for houseplants, vegetables, stuff like that. If they had a seedling, Dr. Earth makes a seedling mix, but they didn't have it stored. I would have got that. It's probably a smarter thing. It probably would have been a little bit less dense, a little bit smaller pieces of debris or matter inside the bag. However, what I'm going to do is I have 15 different seed varieties, and I'm planning on germinating 2 seeds per cup, 2 cups per variety. So 1 cup will get Promix, 1 cup will get Dr. Earth, and we're going to see which one's better. And that way next year I'll just pick one and go with that. Later on I'll probably do it the same way as I did last year. I'm just going to take small little Dixie cups like these. I got these tiny little Dixie cups, right? They're like 3-ounce solo, actually. And I just drill holes around, and I fill it with soil, put my seeds in here, keep it damp. This way, a lot of people, like if you germinate a whole tray and you have the dome on it, you don't really want the dome on it once your plants pop the surface. And if you have like a 72 cell tray, sometimes they can get turn into issues, especially if you're germinating like a bunch of chinenses, which are very, very touchy. So one may germinate in 8 days and one may take 30 days. So if it's in the same tray, you don't really want to keep, you want to keep the top on it, and then you have to do things like add saran wrap or something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these. I'll put it in a typical seedling flat tray, just pull the actual cells out of it, and then I'll put the dome on it, and then as they pop, I'll pull it out and move it to my lights, which is probably, I'm not using the grow tank. It's warm enough to pretty much just grow my garage the way it is. I'm just going to set up my lights on my workbench, and what I'll do is I'll move them from the germination box to the lights, and then follow them through. It's 80 degrees today, 78 degrees today, so it's like by the time these things start popping the surface, I should only need to keep them under lights for a couple weeks before they're big enough to start bringing outside and harden off, and then I'll just put them into a I think I'm going to go with a grow bag. I got plenty of those. And I'll just kind of follow that through and see how far they go before it gets winter. When winter comes, I pick the best 5 or so of them, and then they're going to come in my tent. So, basically, down and dirty wrap up. Promix is much more lighter. However, it's not marked organic. I haven't done a ton of research on it to find out like what specific fertilizers are in it to make it inorganic, or what are the specific factors that does not get that organic stamp, because they do make a Promix Ultimate Organic Mix. Like I said, I would have got that, but they didn't have it. So it's lighter, smaller debris, and the Dr. Earth is organic, but it is denser, does not compact as well, larger pieces of debris. So I'm going to use them both. I'm going to filter them before I put them in my cups, just because I want to have it as clean a mixture as possible. So I'll just kind of pull out the big pieces when I put them in my little germination cups, and then from there I will take some pictures and do an update pretty soon. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them. Send me a message if you have anything more than your 200 allotted characters. So thanks. Take it easy.